What does it mean to feel seen? I've been reflecting on this and thinking about my childhood. I learned I was different before I learned I belonged, and I heard I was wrong long before I ever knew if I was loved. I remember being 6 years old, the age my son is now, and sitting in a sanctuary so big I felt tiny, listening to adults talk about people like myself before I even had words to describe who I was. I don't remember every sermon, but I remember the feeling. Shame. So at 6 years old, I learned to look at myself through someone else's fear. So I became very good at hiding, not by disappearing, but by becoming easy to love, confident, helpful, respectful. I started building masks in elementary school, and I wore them so well they eventually felt like skin. Because when I first learned I was being seen, what was being seen was called wrong. So I learned that visibility meant judgment and that honesty could cost you love. And once a child learns that, hiding becomes instinct. Underneath everything was one quiet belief: if I'm fully seen, I will lose love. Eventually, that fear came true. At 17, I went through conversion therapy. It was presented as healing, as obedience, and as the cost of belonging. It left me asking a question no young person should ever have to ask. Do I choose God, or do I choose my own life? At 24, after I tried to end my life, I was given a second chance at it, and survival changed me. It sent me searching for God beyond the walls where I first learned fear. I've always believed in something greater. I've felt it in nature, in joy and in grief, and most deeply when I look into my children's eyes. But my understanding of the divine has changed. I no longer believe the sacred can be contained by any single certainty or label. God is wider than our certainty and more colorful than our fear. For a long time, I ran from Christianity because it had been one of the deepest sources of pain in my life. Yet I never stopped connecting with the teachings of Jesus: compassion, mercy, dignity, and radical love. What has been healing for me is discovering that I do not have to abandon my faith or myself in order to belong. So the Sunday after the last presidential election, after 2 decades away from church, I walked into ANC carrying more judgment than peace. What I found wasn't perfection, it wasn't even agreement, it was humanity. A space where people didn't have to justify themselves before they could belong. Week after week, I noticed myself arriving with a little less armor, a little less fear of being known. What I'm slowly learning is that safety might be something much simpler than I imagined. The freedom to exist without constantly translating yourself into something easier for other people to hold. For so much of my life, I thought the goal was certainty, the right answer, the right label, the right way to exist. But curiosity has been far more healing than certainty ever was. Curiosity about myself, about others, and about a God far bigger than the boxes I was taught to place around both. Because diversity is not something I experience as a problem to solve. It's one of the most beautiful things about being human. No two people carry the same story, gifts, wounds, or way of seeing the world. Maybe that isn't evidence that something has gone wrong. Maybe it's evidence of abundance. The older I get, the more beauty I find in people who are becoming themselves. And the more freedom I find within myself, the more freedom I want for others. When I look at my children, I find myself hoping they will grow up in a world where being seen feels less dangerous than it once did for me. A world where curiosity is stronger than fear, where difference is met with wonder instead of suspicion, and where people are free to become who they are. Because being seen is not about being understood. It's about being able to exist honestly without honesty costing you love. Maybe belonging isn't found when we arrive at certainty. Maybe it's found when we create space for one another to keep becoming. And when we try to define people too quickly, we often take them from the freedom to keep discovering who they are, trading curiosity for conclusions, and leaving them to carry identities that no longer exist. So thank you, ANC. Thank you for creating a space where people can arrive honestly, a space where curiosity can be stronger than fear, where diversity isn't something to tolerate, but something to celebrate, and where being seen no longer feels like something to survive, but something that helps us come alive. Happy Pride.